Have you always dreamt of becoming a racing driver or turning passion into something real? At Scorpio Esports and RaceGen, we exist to make that journey possible. Backed by Scorpio Motorsport, a real racing team with 26 years of experience, we develop talent from sim to circuit. Just like Jason Kasman, who is now stepping into GB4. This is more than esports. This is a pathway. Join us today.
One of the fastest racing cars and racing series anywhere in the world It's iRacing Super Formula, and we are ready to go racing live on SimSpeed TV at Interlagos for round 12 of this iRacing official series. Autódromo José Carlos Pache, Interlagos, Sao Paulo. It's a famous Grand Prix venue, and it's an awesome place to bring high-speed machines like this. David Haynes with Jay Kennedy as we bring you live coverage. So much on the line from a championship perspective.
Yeah, good morning, David. Good morning, everyone. It's going to be a fun little one to finish off the season, and the championship's still up for grabs in both the iRacing and the SimSpeed championships, both still up for grabs as we come right to the end of the championship season.
So there's two ways to slice up this red onion, and it's the iRacing championship standings, where you can score points any time of the day, any day of the week, strength of fields, and how many other drivers are championship in Super Formula style points. Timothy Fries-Larsen leads the iRacing championship from James Byrne and Chris Rosenkrantz. Over in the SimSpeed points, it's still Timothy Fries-Larsen, but Kevin Foster is there in second place and within 20 points of the lead. Big swings can happen in this one. Chris Rosenkrantz, Dan Jiang, Adam Merchant, James Byrne, Ben Ford, Lucas Hand, Sonny Black, and Valerio Fagundes Tavares. Drivers that we have seen all season long competing in this broadcast time slot. Timothy Fries-Larsen and Kevin Foster have been the drivers to watch, and I think Kevin Foster's been narrowing that margin after Timothy Fries-Larsen came out of the gates quick with some race wins.
Yeah, exactly. See exactly how it's played out, and there are a lot of points up for grabs. 23 points maximum for a race win, so you get 3 points for a pole position, 20 points for a win. So that is still up for grabs with only 16 points separating first and second. If Kevin Foster can pick up a great result and Timothy Fries-Larsen doesn't have the best result, it could still swing in the opposite direction in this race tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. These Super Formula cars, so exciting. They're all identical to each other in performance, but your choice of Toyota or Honda engine. And we'll bring you up to speed again on the Overtake system and how that plays into the racing ahead of us. This modern version of Interlagos has been the scene of so much racing drama in Formula One, World Endurance Championship, Stock Car Brazil, anything else that you can name. And it's got that really long front straight climbing up the hill out of Junção, and then the switchback through the center S of turns 1 and 2, really high speed through turn 3, Curva de Sol, and then overtaking often happening down and towards turn 4 there at Descida do Lago. But on iRacing, you've always got to be so careful of your track limits there. It's sort of off camber as you exit turn 4, and if you are a little bit wide, you'll end up a lot wide. You'll be picking up incident points, you might be picking up slowdowns, etc. You get into this middle part of the lap where the corners come thick and fast. Switching back directions allows side-by-side racing to sometimes continue through multiple corners. Laranjinha, Pinareño, Bico de Pazo, sections like that. Sharply downhill at turn 11 to that 90-degree left-hander at Junção. Again, another place where the track drops away off the far side of the exit curb. You really want to stay on track there. 4.3 kilometers the laps. Come around quick here, even in a car like this with really high average speeds in the straight lines and through the corners.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's a perfect track as well for a final round of a championship. Sperry always says that this track should be the final round of a championship season, and he is absolutely devastated he's not here for this one. So I think we're going to make sure that it's a fantastic final round to see off this championship. And qualifying is just getting underway now, and it is very, very tight so far. So we will get into coverage in just a moment. It's going to be a very, very close one.
Without any pit stops in these races, it has proven very difficult to come from outside of the top 5 and win. So that puts a lot of value on qualifying. We're looking at Timothy Fries-Larsen, the Norwegian right here. Thiago Spencer is on top of the standings at the moment from Andreas Henkel. Lucas Kanchan there in 4th in the standings. Lucas Hand in 6th has given us some good showings. Dan Jiang in 8th. Taking a look though at Larson out of Chunsal. It's absolutely flat out coming up the hill here through a sequence of corners that will only really bother you if the track is wet. And they will not bother Timothy Fries Larson. He looks to improve. Oh, and somehow it's enough to get him to pole position for the moment. Some other drivers out here looking to improve, like Chris Rosenkrantz. Still no time on the board just yet. Almost runs a little bit wide out of turn 4. Track limits, always important in qualifying when you only get 2 flying laps.
Yeah, exactly. It's a difficult one to make sure that you don't push the limits too far. Rosenkrantz hasn't done a lap yet, and I'm going to butcher this surname, so I'm just going to let you have a go, Haynes.
Well, I was going to go with Darren Matchapunga. That was going to be my my attempt. And one of the things we've seen, though, throughout this season is some drivers will leave it till right at the end of the session to get out there, and you've got all of this time when lap times are only just over a minute. Pole currently at a minute 14. If a little bit of a cloud comes over late in the session, the fine margins in this incredibly stacked field can make those little things matter. Chris Rosenkrantz does get a time in for 4th. Look, the amount of time left, he can complete this. I think he's deliberately timed this so that his 2 flying runs happen right at the end of the session, right as the checkered flag waves. Still Timothy Fries Larson on provisional pole from Thiago Spencer. Next row would be Andreas Henkel and Chris Rosenkrantz, if this time stands and if he doesn't improve.
Yeah, Rosenkrantz has done this pretty much all season, hasn't he? He's run right at the end of the session, been one of the last drivers to run. Fries Larson has run right in the middle of the session. Most of the other drivers have run right at the start. And one notable absentee is the driver of Kevin Foster. We noticed that his name is not in the list, so he will not run today. So that will mean the SimSpeed Championship will go to Timothy Fries Larson. The iRacing Championship, of course, will still be up for grabs. It will still be decided throughout the week. And we'll give you those championship results as we start the season next season in a couple of weeks' time, which is great. We'll be back again next season. That is some breaking news for everyone. We'll be back again for another season of Formula B Super Formula action as Rosenkrantz improves, goes 2nd.
And just in time too, not a 10 seconds to spare. Just got that lap time in, moved himself up into 2nd. But Timothy Fries Larson's lap time, a minute 14.429, stands as pole position. Rosenkrantz will join him on that front row of the grid. Thiago Spencer and Andreas Henkel there in 3rd and 4th. Louis Kachan in 5th and Rohan Sena in 6th. Again, of course, great representation from the Brazilian drivers that we've seen all season long, but especially here at their home track of Interlagos. Lucas Hand has qualified 7th, Dennis Branch in 8th, Dan Jiang in 9th, and Denis Radmilovic in 10th. Valerio Fagundes Tavares we've seen all season long from Brazil, and he's qualified 11th. Brett Greaves, 12th. Miguel Fechado in 13th. Samuel Titijahubesi? Gosh, you've thrown me under the bus on all of these, Jay. 14th. Eugenio Stanislav in 15th. Gerhard Roetz in 16th. Last drive with a qualifying time was one Louis Alfaro in 17th. Darren Matchapunga we saw on track, but did not set a time. We'll start from 18th on the grid. So the race format ahead of us, 28 laps of this circuit, no pit stops required. That'll give us 120 kilometres of racing. That 2-lap qualifying is over. If you've got to mind your track limits a little bit, 17 incidents will get you a drive-through, 25 will get you a DQ. Timothy Fries Larson sitting in his pole position there. It's the grippy side of the racetrack, but it is not the inside, going down towards the Senna S on the opening lap. And everyone has their Overtake system loaded up. It's a very unique push-to-pass system, and that it has a cooldown. When you use it, there's a time afterwards where you cannot use it. You're locked out of it. We go green With 120 kilometers ahead of us for the season finale, Timothy Fries-Larsen looking to wrap up a championship with a victory. All heading into the Senna S downhill and into Curva de Sol. Great getaway from the pole sitter and the championship leader. The rest of the field are working their way through and working their way a little bit wide out of Curva de Sol.
The drivers deciding to take the alternate line there to make sure that they didn't make contact with anyone, but everyone's made it through relatively okay. Well, that was a bad time to say that as there's cars up and talking to each other. That's the Dennis and Daniel double. They're both going to drive away.
Well, one's missing a nose, one's missing an engine cover. Combined, we can put a whole super formula back together. We can rebuild them, we have the technology, but that's not how you want to kick things off. So, contact and heavy contact on this opening lap. Fries-Larsen leading the way, only a car length ahead of Thiago Spencer. The drivers have had a little nibble at their 200 seconds of push to pass, but not Fries-Larsen. Now Thiago Spencer lights it up as they come onto the front straight. A little bit early in this run will go a long way. Slipstreams proved powerful in these cars all season long. Spencer lining up that slipstream on the race leader across the start-finish line and towards the braking zone at turn 1. It looks like absolutely perfect conditions for this race, and I think we've got two drivers showing their strength here. Chris Rosenkrantz is qualifying heroics. I've actually seen him drop back to third on this opening lap. Larsen trying to break the toe. It's Henkel and Senna complete the top 5. Came deceptively tricky turn 4 and its track limits. But Milovic and Branch have hit pit lane with their damage. Henkel is putting this pressure on Rosenkrantz. Qualified really well. Down one spot. Might be down another in not too long.
A replay of what happened with Branch and Milovic in just a moment. It looks like they were just squeezed with a 3-wide moment coming through that corner. So just a bit unlucky. See there. Just a strange one where Branch sort of was forced a little bit wider than he would have liked to go, but couldn't go any wider because there was another car on his outside.
Yeah, just small amounts of overlap. I don't think anyone really realised they were 3 wide. They only were for a moment and just long enough for disaster. So those who didn't push to pass on the first lap get to use it on the second lap here. Rosenkrantz and Henkel haven't used any. Larsen and Spencer first and second are in the cool down. Rohan Senna in 5th has gone through quite a bit of his early going and still sits in that 5th place. We look from the sizable rear crash structure of the race leader at the rest of the field, and you can see how qualifying's importance was so much. It's tough to make too many moves when the field is this equal.
Interesting that Lucas Hand has already used over 20 seconds of his overtake system, so he's already into the 179 second marker, so just a decent chunk already. Fairly long race in terms of lap count, but the laps are fairly quick here. When we looked at the lap count, we were both thinking that it was a relatively long race at 28 laps, but the distance isn't as long as we've seen in other races, so it'll fly by relatively quick. Very, very high-speed track as well. You can see half the field on the push to pass on the overtake system, but overtakes into turn 1. It's going to be very, very difficult to get overtaking because they are just so fast into that turn 1 section. It'll be overtakes right at the end of the race, I believe.
Yeah, Tavares used a bit of that push to pass, still using it down towards turn 4, shaping up for 8th place. Oh, and just not getting close enough going into turn 4. Dan Jiang runs just a little bit wide, driving in his mirrors some, but holds on to his 8th place. Spencer gets on the fastest lap of the race. Senna and Kachan are battling over 5th, 6th, and 7th. Field still super close, so if you do get side by side, battle through a couple of corners, there'll suddenly be a real queue forming behind you, and you can imagine that happening around Jiang and Tavares here with Big Machado just there in 10th position.
Biggest gap in the entire field is this gap here between Kachan and Yang, and it's only 1.5 seconds, so the field is still relatively close. It's only going to take one little checkup, and the whole field will be bunched into one single group. You can see almost every car in the field is on the cooldown as well for their overtake system as well, which is very, very interesting. Something you don't see too often in this car. You only really see that on the last or second last lap of the race.
Well, it's so strong on the front straight here, so I suppose that's what some of the drivers are angling for. It's got some slightly complex rules, but it creates some strategically very, very interesting racing. So I've been enjoying it. Chancing the kind of speeds that we are doing to Ferradura at the Horseshoe. So almost 200 k's an hour, getting to sort of 260, 270 very easily on some of these straights. Following Lucas and closely.
Only the 2 drivers still left in the race that have not used their overtake system at this point of the race, and one of them has started to use it. That being John Sanford, has started to lose a little bit of ground to Chris Rosenkrantz in 4th position. So he's decided he needs to push the button and start to close that gap down a little bit. See if he can close that gap down, but Rosenkrantz has started to close the gap from third up into second. So Rosenkrantz just set the fastest lap of the race, and you can see here he has closed that gap down to Thiago Spencer in 2nd position. So he's starting to get a little bit of an attack going up in 3rd position.
Yeah, without any overtake either, 200 seconds still left, and he put down a new fastest lap of the race. Tyres very durable on this car, and the longer they go, they always get faster, so long as the temperatures aren't too abrasive, because they get lighter as they go on. Losing a lot in the braking zone there, so maybe this race will come back towards him. Thiago Spencer going a little hard, a little early. Freeze Larson probably still wants to manage this from the front, but would like to break that toe to 2nd and 3rd place. Spencer struggling through José
On the button.
8 is the button, just because he wants to stay with that slipstream of Freeze Larson, who's beginning to drop a tiny bit further back without that.
Interesting that he didn't give a huge amount of a burst on the button. He just gave it for a couple of seconds down the straight and then got off it again, whereas we've seen some drivers use the button for the entirety of both straights. But he got off the button very, very quickly. He's trying to save a bit of that overtake system for the end of the race. Make sure he's got something to fight with, to fight for position, and probably to defend with as well, because he knows that Rosenkrantz behind still has everything left in regards to overtake system. He'll be keeping an eye on that himself and understanding that Rosenkrantz has not used a single second, so he will have enough to pounce, put pressure on. And think about it too, if you don't use any of the overtake system, that's almost 3 laps worth of overtake system you've got to use in one hit at the end of the race.
Yeah, lap times 75 seconds. Rosenkrantz just a tiny bit of it right now, and I thought Tavares was clever with it when he left the system active through the Center S and then had extra horsepower through Curva de Sol and down towards Reto Acosta. Rosenkrantz using a little bit of that overtake system, gets right to the rear wing of Thiago Spencer through the Center S, rides the curve in Curva de Sol, gets a pretty poor dismount, to be honest, and that probably stymies him a little bit from challenging.
Quite nail it, did he? Just had a tiny little error, and that was enough to unfortunately mean he could not take advantage of the overspeed he had. But what it's meant is that entire front 3 gap has closed to within a second. Oh, that was close. Rosenkrantz with a tiny little error almost makes contact into the back of Thiago Spencer. So this is getting a little feisty at the front here. All 3 of these guys want this win. Great to see. Yeah, getting a little feisty and a little messy at the front.
basically out of this race. 16 running. In the middle of the field, a few drivers using a little bit and a little more of the overtake system. 3-1 stern. Spencer puts down a new fastest lap of the race. There might have been some quicker lap times that didn't count. I'm watching these track limits through turn 4, and I think when it's this close, they're more worried about the tenths of a second than they are about racking up the incident points. That
looks like everyone's lap times actually have been counting for the most part, which is a positive thing to see. There's only a couple of times that I have noticed that haven't counted, so it's been pretty good for the most part. But not every time has counted, but most have, which is a real positive. Interesting though that time there from Jogo Spencer, the first time we've seen in the 1 minute 14s in this race. I'll tell you now that's an off track for this Rosenkrantz. That was very, very wide.
gets close, then he falls back, and then he tries to get close again. And earning through the available time. Rohan Senna in 5th, trying to stay in touch. Anyone's used more than him, but still has this top 4 just getting away from him. Another lap completed. Go into the center S. Change of direction once, twice, thrice. Challenges the balance of the cars and the ever-heating tyres and track. Now starting to look just a little bit slippery in some of the slow traction zones and when they flick one direction to the other. Other than that, normally pretty stable as a race car. Big wide rear tyres, plenty of aerodynamic grip, lighter than an Indy car or others like that. Very, very nimble and stable. Typically, as you push them, eventually something gives. South, key traction zone there, but more important than anywhere else on the lap. So once you get the full throttle, you stay full throttle up the hill, past the pit lane, past all the grandstands, the water tower, everything. So it's 13th, 14th, 15th on track. Nicolas Alfaro, Virginia Stanislav, Darren Machafunga.
Very, very even for pace, these three, so interesting to see how much change they have throughout the next little while, but the last few laps have all been relatively similar. In saying that, one of them just did their fastest laps of the race on that lap, so matching each other for pace, getting faster every lap, so we'll keep an eye on them throughout the race. Ahead as well, also doing very similar. Almost all in groups of 3 throughout this field, which is unusual. You often see groups of 2, but you don't often see races where everyone's in groups of 3.
Goes triplets in this race. Fachado from Greaves in this group right here. And yeah, Fachado's also gone through a lot of Overtake System to this point in the race, trying to stay ahead of this group. He's giving off a slipstream that's just keeping Greaves there. Available, but don't use it.
So I was just going to say, Tavares and Jiang have also used a huge amount of the Overtake System. Jiang is down to 141, Tavares is down to 129, so they've also used a lot. They are also very, very close together, so they're basically using it in response to each other. Tavares also having another look. Remember, we saw a couple of laps ago that identical attempted look, or the fake look. Tavares is just sitting there waiting for Jiang to make a mistake, but I've seen Dan Jiang for years and years and years and years in open wheel cars, from right back to the old Williams Formula 1 car. He rarely makes a mistake in open wheel cars on iRacing.
And that one's Jay Kennedy, just in case something happens. I'm David Haynes, who didn't say that.
having raced with Dan, I would say 13 or 14 years ago in some Formula leagues on the Australian side of the world. I have been lapped many a times by Dan, so yeah, it's very, very quick. You see him still out there, one of the OGs of iRacing. Not many left of us OGs with only the 5-digit iRacing ID numbers.
Yeah, I'm a 6-digit mid 100,000s iRacing ID. Green roll hoop flashing gives some information about the overtake system state, not just to us as viewers, but to the drivers. If you're the leading driver, you can look in your mirror and see what the roll hoop is doing for the driver behind and act accordingly. So gives good information both ways that what the roll hoop is doing, flashing what colour, what its state is. Up front, Timothy Fries-Larsen, despite his best attempts, has not been able to quite break the slipstream here. Thiago Spencer in second still has Chris Rosenkrantz wearing him closely. Every time Rosenkrantz gets just within that car length where he can really try to move for second, he seems to always hit a little bit of dirty air, or he struggles to maintain his momentum. And he struggles for traction, so struggles with the curb here in the button this time. Yeah, note that he's still active through Curva de Sol. He needs to be close, but he's not quite. As he challenges for second, he's going to dive to the inside of Reto Aposta, forcing Thiago Spencer off the track. Rosenkrantz up into second, coming from a decent distance back and burning through a lot of his overtake system to do so.
He's down to 80 seconds left, so yeah, you're right. He has used a huge amount, but he's got the overtake done, which was the entire intention of using so much. Has he got enough left with still half the race to go to be able to close the gap down at the front, or has he burnt way too much, with nothing left to defend at the end? It'll be interesting to see. We've seen plays like this before work, and we've seen plays like this absolutely backfire big time. It's Henkel now on the button from 4th position, so will he be able to take advantage and get the overtake done on Spencer? Of course he will. He's going to get it done before they get to turn 1.
Yeah, seeing those other two battle, well, Henkel was saving, his push to pass was good, but then diving into the center S, Spencer leaves just enough room at the right hand, change of direction. Henkel gets up into the podium positions. He's still active as well as he heads down Reto Aposta. So now he's going to use a fair chunk of the overtake system, but he's used it very well to get up into 3rd place, staying relatively close to Chris Rosenkrantz. How about deeper in the field? An almost repeat battle. Stanislav versus Rutz.
Nice work. Overtake. They've changed position a couple of times throughout this lap. I was hoping we could get to it, but that was so important at the front. But they've managed to sort themselves out, get through unscathed, and both have been on the button throughout that overtake process. They've got through, which is great to see. Great to see battling the whole way through the field. It just shows how good the racing can be in this series.
Now he's got there. Spencer has found his button. Rohan Senna has found his as well. Still holding on to 5th, even if he's been one of the drivers to deplete it quite quickly. Rosenkrantz has managed to nearly break away from these drivers now that he's up in 2nd. Not quite into the slipstream of Timothy Fries-Larsen. Spencer comes out of turn 3, Curva de Sol, in the toe of Henkel. Cool down of his push to pass system as well. And track limits at turn 4.
I'm actually surprised that Spencer used his overtake system there. I thought he might have taken as much of it as he would until the end of the race, unless he thought he was losing too much ground and just needed to stick with there and burned up a bit of the tyres. Actually looks like he might have a tiny little bit of damage on the front wing, so maybe he's worried about that and he's used the overtake system just to make sure he maintains that gap, but doing a good job. And interesting that Ron Cena is behind. Slightly closing the gap to this group as well. So don't be surprised to see this turn into a 5, maybe even 6-car battle for this leading position in the next couple of laps. You can see how close those guys behind are starting to close in.
Yeah, the top 7 very close. A little bit of a gap then to Dan Jiang in 8th. Then he's got Tavares, Fachado, Reeves not far behind him. We obviously saw some of the other battles, Matchfunga, Stanislav, Hertz through the field, and only 18 starters, and we lost 2 quite early. But this is what the racing has looked like at almost every track, almost throughout the whole season. Very close, the tactical game with the Overtake System, really quality drivers driving these Super Formula cars right towards the limit. And Timothy Fries-Larsen, the championship leader, has been the class of the field. He hasn't been able to take every win, but this is how he's looked to do these races, to just break the 1 second in the slipstream and then just manage that from out front. Henkel passed Spencer for third a couple of laps ago. Rosenkrantz up in second, has used a lot of his Overtake System and has been off that button lately. Henkel has been using it in little dribs and drabs and has closed him in. This is second and third, battling past the halfway point of this race now.
Spencer's just gone from this group. He's well and truly dropped off. He's got nothing left in the tank effectively. I think his tyres are burnt off. The attempt to defend has been just too much for him, and he's just now losing so much ground. Even on the button, he lost ground in that lap. So he now finds himself dropping further and further back. And he'll come under the clutches of Ron Cena in just a moment. Probably another 2 laps, I would believe. So unfortunate for Thiago Spencer, but probably was fighting a little bit too hard to defend the position rather than working with the group to try and cut down that gap with Timothy Fries-Larsen, who now has one hand on the Series Championship, both the Broadcast Championship and the iRacing Championship for this season.
Yeah, Spencer versus Rosenkrantz is when Timothy Fries-Larsen was able to break more than a second clear as they were battling over that. Henkel versus Rosenkrantz, though, is the next battle that we are going to see. Henkel got close last lap. I think he was using it down Reta Aposta on one of the previous times, so that helped him get close here. 3 absolutely flat out once you're in it in these cars. This is a good distance to be, but then you've got to remain close. Maybe hope for Rosenkrantz to have a little issue, traction out of Jules South, something like that, and that's where you'd really be able to apply pressure and look for second place. Short of a large mistake, Timothy Fries-Larsen appears to be in control with the pace to remain out front. Great battling we'll see a little bit behind him. Is that Rosenkrantz letting Henkel go? Does he think Henkel might have the pace? Does he think Henkel's got the pace to close the leader down?
I think that's... I don't have the pace, so you have a go. If you don't have the pace, give me the spot back later on. That's what it looks like to me. You have a crack, see if you can get him. If you can't get him, let me have the spot back and then we'll battle at the end.
9 laps to go in 3 seconds. It's going to have to be a very big crack from Henkel. But we'll see. He's looked good in this mid to late stage of the race. He's come on exactly as Thiago Spencer, as an example, has begun to drop away just a little bit. So maybe his driving style, the track conditions, his setup, all lead towards him being strong in this later stage of the run. There is the conditions. Partly cloudy, not much wind, but a bit of track temperature for sure.
It's not too bad, 32.2 Celsius. Temperature is just under 25 degrees Celsius. Converts into 77 Fahrenheit, 90 Fahrenheit on the track. Just said not much wind, so track temperature relatively cool, so it will be preserving the tyres. So the drivers that are able to get heat into the tyres and preserve them as well same time not push them too hard and make them overwork, we'll be able to push on at the end of this race in a very, very good way. Because Rosenkrantz and Spencer both on the button to try and use that extra horsepower.
Henkel gave it a little burst out of Junsao as well.
Yep.
Wouldn't have been surprised to see the fastest lap fall there.
Was Henkel's personal best lap. Rosenkrantz still has that fastest lap with a 14.76.
Did not take near enough time out of Timothy Friis-Larsen on that lap though, and it needs to be a consistent gain as well. Just not quite happening. Sano getting a little bit closer to Spencer. Kachan just behind Hand still, so it's a few other battles to watch here, and some drivers going to be very vulnerable to other drivers that have half a minute more of boost of Overtake System available to them. Sano has been going through his that far ahead of Lucas Hand.
Sano down under a minute. Compared that to Friis-Larsen, who still has over 3 minutes left of Overtake System left. Sano's on the button already, so he's going to have less than 45 seconds left, which is how much Shadow has left on his Overtake System. He has 45 seconds left, as does Cena. Rosenkrantz has 43 seconds remaining on his.
Rosenkrantz has not been afraid to push that button and leave it active. Now down to just 43 seconds. But he has put a bit of time into Thiago Spencer, enough margin that might be able to protect him on the final lap when this all unwinds and it sort of comes back to roost. That much time left. He's got Brett Greaves, who's been using the system behind him in 11th. Now Andreas Henkel is going to activate up the hill. Really efficient way to use the system there. Just ahead of the long straight and heading uphill. And how's the speed? Bad at all. That straight line speed, massive, before he then has to brake into the center S. Looks like he deactivated the button there, so he does not have it down Reta Aposta towards Desida Dolago.
Interesting that Rosenkrantz has just used another little burst of it, so he's down to 36 seconds remaining now. Friis-Larsen still has over 3 minutes left.
Yep. And he still has about the same lead that he's had the last couple of laps.
Crazy.
If he lets them get like a tenth of a second closer, he's not going to let them take 1 second out of him, that's for sure. And he'll have 5 laps to go when he crosses the line this time. Carlos Alfaro has certainly saved a little bit as well there in 13th. 131 seconds for Eugenio Stanislav. And Sena in 5th. Also punches up the hill with extra power.
So now down to 35 seconds, so not much left for him either. So start to see these lights flash red on the roll hoop when the drivers get under 20 seconds remaining. And with how close the field is, I think we're going to see a few drivers really ration it out to save that 10 seconds left for that last lap to potentially have that last little boost right at the end. Maybe make a move.
Handles, and I'm creating a prayer circle. How about we get a battle off of himself up the hill to the checkered flag, where one driver's an overtake system and another one runs out.
There's every chance it happens. There is every chance that it happens in this race.
We're manifesting. We're thinking that's a possible way this could play out, with the large differences forming in the way that the drivers are using their overtake system. It's Fries Larsen has held on to 190 seconds. Andreas Henkel has used it in bursts over the last 5 or 6 laps to try to close him down, and not completely successfully when you look at where that gap has remained. Chris Rosenkrantz has not been able to go with Henkel there in 3rd place. Thiago Spencer hasn't been able to go with him. Senna and Hand are actually looking pretty good coming into these final few laps. And you've seen a bunch of drivers have just used their Overtake System. They'll ride out the cool down, and with about 2 laps to go, they'll push that button and they will leave that on until the end of the race.
The important difference with these, if you're new to these cars, from these to say a Formula 1 car or most other cars that have a push to pass or an overtake style system, is that when you push the button, you have to push the button to then disengage the system. So you can push the button, leave it going, and it will stay on. So, very, very big difference to a lot of other systems, whereas you push the button, you tap the brake, and it will disengage. And these, you push the button, it stays on until you decide you want to turn it off. So very, very important for these drivers to remember to turn it off. But the obvious thing for these guys is it does light up in huge, big green text on the dash. I was hoping that Lucas Ham was going to push the button for us, but he has not, which is unfortunate. It does light up big green font, there you can see from Brett Reeves. The advantage is it's very obvious that you've got it on. The disadvantage is you'll lose all of your other systems on your dash, so you can't see anything else other than that you've got the overtake system on.
Won't forget that you've left it on like a tap in the bath. Fries Larsen,
he's done
3
it.
laps to go, and said, I think I'm about 190 seconds away from the checkered flag. Just put that button on, and it can remain on when you go off throttle. It can remain on through the corners and braking zones. You just put, it's like a different drive mode that you have access to, and you will get in that and stay in that. 2 laps to go when he comes to the line, and this is where you look to break fastest laps and look to break records. Henkel is going to have to wait a little bit longer before he can engage his. Chris Rosenkrantz is going to have to wait till the last lap. Thiago Spencer has still got plenty, and a few other drivers are just in their cool down right now, and when that ends, they'll probably look to engage all the way to the end. So this is going to be a whole lap in overtake on the penultimate lap for Timothy Fries Larsen. Car's going to be a little more challenging to drive. It'll be so zippy out of the corners. You're going to need to be a little bit more ginger with the throttle. When you do get to full throttle, the car will feel so alive. It's moments like that, though, where you've got to just be a little careful leaving the overtake system on.
It's about an extra 60 horsepower with a different fuel map. It's like pressing the sport mode in your modern road car. A little bit more horsepower changes in the engine. Unlike a battery, it's just a different fuel map. Just with that extra horsepower. We often will say it's a battery because there's so many different cars and things that we commentate on. It's just how we think sometimes that it is a battery, but definitely isn't. This should be the new fastest lap of the race because an extra 60 horsepower. There you go. The fastest lap of the race is always going to be.
Yeah, even with a little bit of a Larry moment coming out of turn 4, he might be able to do even more on the final lap of the race here. Other battles. Spencer's coming under a bit of pressure, but he'll still have more overtake than Rosenkrantz and more than Grohan Senna, who is out. Lucas Hand activates, and he's only got 7 seconds left. He's trying to fend off Louis Kachan. As Timothy Fries Larsen is making a victory lap of Interlagos. He's looking for pole and the win in the final round of the championship, where he will wrap up the Sim Speed Championship. He just needs to guide this thing home from Henkel and Rosenkrantz, who will aim to join him on the podium. The other drivers are out of Overtake System. Miguel Fachado, none left. Brett Greaves, none left in all of their little battles Fries Larson has got just a tiny bit remaining here, and it'll help him out of Jun Sao and up towards the checkered flag. Break that fastest lap as well to add to all of his accolades this season in iRacing, Formula B, Super Formula. Timothy Fries Larson, a spectacular drive and a spectacular season. Your champion.
Absolutely fantastic win for him. He's done absolutely brilliantly. He's been brilliant all season long. Great to see Kevin Foster battle with him throughout a few races, but unfortunately he wasn't able to be here for the final race. Battle at the end here between Machado and Reeves. Close in the end there, but not quite able to get there was Brett Reeves. That was almost our battle that we were talking about we were going to have. Right there. Right, Rotes. Shout out to Gerard for his work behind the scenes as well. We want to give him a massive shout out. Been working hard behind the scenes to get this broadcast up and running off the ground, and all of his hard work has not gone unnoticed by the community. So big thank you to Gerard for his hard work. Unsung heroes of these communities. People like Gerard just get out there and do their racing, do work behind the scenes and make sure that they get these things off the ground and help get these broadcasts going. And he's already started the funding work for next season to get the broadcast going. So if you want to help it out, check the iRacing forums and you can help out get the broadcast going for next season.
Yeah, a real community effort. Lots of people coming together to get this broadcast every week together and to put together a championship like this and really rally around the Super Formula car. It has been an amazing season, and we have seen some incredible drivers. The level of skill here in this top split, very, very high, and attracting some drivers that are real specialists. The race complete at Interlagos with Timothy Fries Larson securing all of the accolades from pole position to the fastest lap of the race on his way to the win and the championship. That is a cherry and a bow on top. Andreas Henkel, a great drive to make some moves up into that second place. Chris Rosenkrantz also trying to make positions. Thiago Spencer in fourth, Rohan Sena holding on to fifth place. Lucas Hand, Louis Kanchan, Dan Jiang, Valerio Fagundes Tavares and Miguel Fachado completing the top 10 with 3 drivers from native Brazil inside of that top 10. Brett Greaves, Samuel H, Juan Luis Alfaro, Darren Machapunga, Eugenio Stanislav and Gerhard Roetz. Everyone who finishing on the lead lap. First lap contact, though, between Daniel Radmilovic and Dennis Branch took those drivers out of the race. One car launching over the other at turn 4. Front wing and engine cover getting dislodged. Pretty serious damage that couldn't see them finish the race happening on the opening lap in a pinch moment. So, our champion will come and join us. And we can offer massive congratulations. And what a perfect way to end your season in this championship, Timothy Fries Larson.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And yeah, a bit of a shame to have the championship decided in a kind of anticlimactic way with Kevin Foster not being here. But yeah, it's been a good season, and yeah, to end on top is always great.
Talk to us about the weather and the track. Not cold, not raining, but also not outrageously hot. But there's some really long corners and tire wearing corners here.
Yeah, no, the track conditions have been pretty varying, not just between races, but also during the race, especially with the wind direction. The wind we had in qualifying and the start of the race was pretty good, and then it just kind of did a 180 towards the end of the race. So yeah, that it didn't change too much, but yeah, it's something to watch out for. And then yeah, no, the track temp I stayed pretty consistent. So yeah, not too hot, not too cold as you said, but yeah, pretty much in that sweet spot. But you still have to drive a bit carefully to not kill the rear tires. And like I was struggling a bit with that at the end. So yeah, mostly just pushing, but yeah, having those things in the back of your mind is pretty important.
When you saw the grid and you would have had an idea of other people's pace, the battling between second, third, and fourth certainly was a little helpful to you because you didn't break that slipstream to them immediately.
Yeah, those three were really quick too, and yeah, and once I saw that Thiago was kind of struggling to keep up, and had to use push to pass to keep up with me, and I saw Chris as well catching up to him. I had the idea to like stop weaving and giving Thiago a bit more slipstream instead to kind of maintain his gap to Chris, so that that fight between those two would be delayed as much as possible, so that I could gain or keep a good gap at the end, because I knew that Chris was pretty quick, of course. And then with Andreas, I knew he had a mega pace as well. Like in the race just before this, he was absolutely hunting me down with pretty good success. So yeah, but with him not having the best qualifying session, I wasn't too worried about that. So yeah, it was just kind of managing the gap, but also pushing and seeing what I could do.
You start the season with a win at the Red Bull Ring. You end with a win at Interlagos. What are your favorite ingredients in a sandwich?
Ooh, I mean, having some fights on track would be a really good ingredient. Whether I had those or not, I actually don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, it's been a good season nonetheless, and to both start on the right foot and end on the same is amazing. And yeah, I've progressed a lot through this season. This this season myself, especially with my setups. They went from being like half a second off the pace to now being right on the pace, really. So yeah, it's been a good development.
It's been awesome to watch. It's been great to see the racecraft and strategic minds at play, and also just some really high quality driving from a high quality field. You are our champion. Who would you like to thank?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to thank my friends and family who are all watching, of course. A massive thanks to the team Scorpio Esports for always supporting me in this, and also thanks to you guys at SimSpeed for doing these broadcasts, and thanks to Sim Racing Nation and everyone who donated and participated for making all this possible. But last but not least, a big thanks to Kevin Foster himself as well for not just the amazing title fights we had, or amazing. I mean, I was quite far off in those races, but yeah, big thanks for that fight. And also, after these races we were in together, we had pretty long chats about everything which had with this series to do, like from setups to driving and whatever. So yeah, that has honestly helped me a lot. And yeah, I don't know if the same applies for him, but I hope it does. So yeah, massive thanks to Kevin Foster as well.
Well done. We'll see you around.
Yeah, see you guys.
What a championship, and what a champion. Thank you to everyone who made this full season broadcast of Super Formula possible. Like Sync Mesh, Pimax, Scorpio Esports, Get Good Racing, Grid Finder, Full Push Sim Gear, Canada's ultimate destination for elite gear, From precision pedals to professional turnkey rigs, we fuel your obsession. Pure performance, expert support, push harder, drive faster. Traction.gg. If you're enjoying the virtual action and want to understand more about the goings-on within sim racing, visit the Traction.gg website daily for the latest platform updates, news and interviews. Stay up to speed with the industry, the developers and the latest equipment. That's Traction.gg, where you can also sign up for their weekly email newsletter. Sim Racing Nation, the community for sim racing enthusiasts and motorsport professionals from around the world. They focus on fostering competitive racing and an environment for drivers of all skill levels. And thank you, Sim Racing Nation, for keeping track of the points for the Sim Speed Championship this season as well. Sim Gaming Expo. Sim Gaming Expo returns September 18th to 20th in Schaumburg, Illinois. North America's only event celebrating every genre of simulation gaming under one roof. Get your tickets at simgamingexpo.com. TDI 99. TDI 99 level up with 15 years of racing grit. TDI delivers pro tips, quick laps, and the hard truths F1 won't discuss. Follow TDI 99 on YouTube today. Tamash Setups. Take your iRacing setups to the next level with Tamash Setups. Get race-winning, well-reviewed setups for Super Formula and Super Formula Lights today. Head on over to tamashsetups.com or search for Tamash Setups on Patreon. The Into the Apex podcast follows the world of sim racing as if in a Discord in a Friday night or around the track campfire. See more at intotheapex.com. And that is a big thank you to everyone who rallied around this community and this championship to put it together. And we'll hope to see you next season. And we hope that we can get to go to even more exciting Grand Prix style tracks in the iRacing Formula B Championship Super Formula Series. After the Week 13 week off, we'll be right back into the action in a new season. It was great to have your company from Interlagos as we crowned our champion Timothy Fries-Larsen. I was David Haynes with Jay Kennedy for SimSpeed TV. Well done to everyone who's joined us in the Super Formula this season. The community gets it done, and we'll see you next season.
Have you always dreamt of becoming a racing driver or turning passion into something real? At Scorpio Esports and Race Gen, we exist to make that journey possible. Backed by Scorpio Motorsport, a real racing team with 26 years of experience, we develop talent from sim to circuit. Just like Jason Kasman, who is now stepping into GB4. This is more than esports. This is a pathway. Join us today.